Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 mod review, and today we've got something special, a brand new weapon mod by Pig known as the Vault-Tec Security 10mm SMG. This is going to add a brand new 10mm SMG similar to the classic 10mm from past Fallout games, but definitely a weapon all its own. This is a dream weapon for people who enjoy lore-friendly, unique weapon concepts, something that is not necessarily from a past Fallout game, but still fits nice in the lore, something that could totally exist in the Fallout universe, and I think that this weapon definitely suits that. And it should, as it does take a lot of inspiration not only from the classic SMGs, but also the Fallout 76 style of the 10mm SMG. But this one is still its own weapon. This weapon was designed to be a weapon used by Vault-Tec for the security of their vaults, much like how the 10mm pistol was often used by Vault-Tec security. I assume this one would be used for much more intense situations like protecting the vault door from an invasion or dealing with maybe a riot in the vault. And all of this is some lore come up with by the author Pig, who has also stated that this weapon is actually manufactured by H&K, as they are a weapons manufacturer in the Fallout universe, and it was actually part of a private military contract for Vault-Tec. So this is a Vault-Tec specific weapon, which is why it has a nice little Vault-Tec engraving on the receiver of the weapon. But as much time has passed, this weapon has made its way into the wasteland and can be found pretty much in the hands of anybody from the Brotherhood of Steel to raiders. And yes, this weapon is added to the leveled list and will start spawning out in the world after level 7. So you can actually pick this up pretty early in the game. And it definitely works wonderfully as an early game SMG, a nice alternative to the 10mm auto pistol and a new way to dispense the surplus of 10mm ammunition you've been hoarding. This weapon, of course, comes with some beautiful new models and textures, as you can see on screen, including a bunch of skins that you can apply over at the weapons workbench. This also features not only semi and full auto functionality, but burst fire, which is really unique in the modding scene. And this weapon even has compatibility for a lot of the reanimation mods, as it does use the Nuka World AK reload animations by default, but any animation replacers you download will overwrite this, and it does work with them, as it does feature an ambidextrous bolt. This weapon does make use of a couple of vanilla assets for several of the attachments, specifically the pipe weapons, so not only I but Pig recommends as well that you download Gmoy's pipe gun retexture so that it gives it a nice gray instead of the disgusting coppery yellow color that is in the vanilla game. I think that covers most of the basics. Let's go ahead and take this thing in-game and talk about its stats and all of its other neat little features. So here we have the Security SMG as it is known in-game in its most basic format. Now really quick, the entire concept of this weapon and implementation was done by Pig, as well as all of the beautiful texture work, but the model itself was actually made by jcruise05, whom you should know if you've been watching this channel for a while, and I actually made a couple of attachments for this one as well. So this was a nice little group effort, but definitely props to Pig for such a cool and unique concept. Now then, this thing has a base damage of 26 in semi-automatic, as the weapon comes by default. Uses 10mm ammunition, of course. It wouldn't be a 10mm SMG without that. Has a fire rate of 115, so you can fire this thing pretty much as fast as you can pull the trigger. A range of 71, an accuracy of 49, a weight of 5.8 pounds, and a value of 110 caps, making this a really nice, balanced early game weapon. I have to say, I like this thing a lot, and it's really hard to fill that void in the leveled list, but I think we finally have enough weapons to really flesh out every part of the game, be it early, mid, or late game. So that's pretty cool. Now then, like I said earlier, this weapon does use vanilla handmade auto rifle animations, but anything that you download will replace it. As you can see, like I said earlier, there is an ambidextrous bolt. Now, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to use the right-sided bolt since there is a nice convenient one on the left side, but for any of you who are using the right-handed AK, it will still work with this weapon. So that is some nice foresight by Pig. Now then, even though it does use vanilla animations and vanilla sounds, I want to go ahead and let them play for you now, as I do think they fit this weapon very well. This is one of the first weapons where I think the vanilla Nuka World AK animations are actually better, so I'm going to go ahead and let that play for you. But that's not all. There is some other cool functionality with this weapon. You can of course put it in semi-auto with a long scope to make sort of a carbine of sorts. But the really cool functionality comes with the burst fire framework by the 6th Messenger. This weapon does in fact have fully functional burst fire. You'll notice that the burst fire on my end of things is pretty fast, and the reason is because the burst fire framework, much like many things in Fallout 4, is actually tied to your frame rate. You'll notice at the top left of the screen that I am rocking a nice solid 130 to 144 frames per second, and so my burst fire is very, very fast. But if you're on a lower end system, the burst fire will actually be slower, so that's a pretty interesting thing, and everybody's going to have a very unique experience with this weapon. Now then, let's talk attachments over at the weapons workbench. There are a whole slew of attachments available for this weapon. Not too much to make the WAD feel bloated, but enough to give you the exact customization options you might want or need. Starting with the receiver section, we have a ton of receivers because we do have the addition of burst fire receivers. The standard semi-auto in the semi-auto category is going to give you 26 damage with a maximum damage of 39 in the semi-auto advanced receiver. And then for the burst fire category, we have a base damage of 20 and a maximum damage of 35. Again, all of these without perks. And then for the automatic category, we have a base damage of 15 with the standard receiver and a powerful receiver of 22. But there is the addition of a rapid receiver, which is only 2 less than the powerful at a damage of 20, but it has a much faster fire rate. So it might be worth picking that up if you're looking for a close quarters full auto beast. Now then, for barrels, we have some good options. We have the standard makeshift barrel. We also have the short barrel, the short ported barrel, the long barrel, and the long ported barrel. For grips, we have the makeshift grip, the makeshift stock, the folded stock, the folding stock, which is just the folded stock but unfolded, the improved grip, the full stock, and the marksman stock. For magazines, we have small magazine, medium magazine, large magazine, and of course a drum magazine for some exceptional ammo capacity. For sights, we have the standard iron sights, some glow sights, the 10mm reflex, which is very, very fitting on this weapon. It fits the lines and the geometry of this weapon very well, so I like that a lot. And also some brand new scopes, the Vault-Tec reflex sight, the Vault-Tec hollow sight, and the Vault-Tec marksman sights. These are the little contributions that I could make to this mod. As part of my upcoming Vault-Tec optic pack, I did give these to Pig early so he could implement them, as they do look really, really nice on this weapon. And then we also have the addition of a laser sight using the model by JCruz05, and this one is functional, much like the laser sights in my mods, JCruz mods, and now Pig's mods as well. All of these will work when you aim down sights. You'll use the dot of the laser, so that's pretty cool. For muzzles, we have the option for no muzzle, of course, a compensator, a muzzle brake, and a suppressor. And then we also have some paint jobs. Of course, we have the option for no paint job, the black paint job, the gunner paint job, the Raider paint job, which was a small suggestion by me, and I gotta say, I like this one a lot. The Vault-Tec paint job is fitting, of course, for a Vault-Tec Security SMG, and then the Warlord paint, which I think is actually my favorite in this pack. I really, really like the color scheme with the two-tone green and then the red accents. This looks super cool and super Fallout. Reminds me of the base Hot Rod paint job in the vanilla game, and looks like something that even super mutants might use with the color scheme, so that's pretty cool. Now then, as tradition requires, we need to do a damage test for this weapon, and we've got the full setup here today. We're going to be testing the base version of the weapon with no attachments and no perks. We'll be testing a fully upgraded version of that weapon in semi-automatic, a fully upgraded version in full auto, and a fully upgraded version with the burst fire, which I expect to do pretty well, given that, again, it is tied to frame rate, and my frame rate is pretty nice. All of these will be tested without perks so we can see how the weapon performs on its own. Let's go ahead and start with the base version of the weapon. I don't expect it to do too well, as again, it is intended for the early game. Alright, nearly half the Deathclaw's health with 16 shots. And it's probably going to take one more to put down the Deathclaw, making for a total of 33 bullets, which honestly isn't too bad. If you had an extended mag on this thing, you might be able to take down a Deathclaw without reloading, so long as your accuracy is decent. Now then, let's see a fully upgraded version of semi-automatic on this Deathclaw here to see how much better it can get. And that Deathclaw goes down in 19 shots. Not too bad. Oh, my math was wrong. 17. 17 shots. Cool. Now then, Let's see how full auto does. It's going to be less damage, of course, but a much faster fire rate with bigger magazines. Let's see how it performs. And we do actually have to reload there. I did get a bit overzealous whenever the Deathclaw recoiled there. I missed some of its weak point shots, but we put him down in 45 bullets. Throw on a drum mag and it'll be no problem whatsoever. Now the one I'm really curious about, let's see how burst fire does. I'm not too sure how this is going to go, to be honest. Now that was a total of 8 pulls of the trigger, but 3 rounds every time I shot. So that's decent-ish with about 26 shots, something like that. I don't know. Do the math. It works. I think this one is actually pretty serviceable as a weapon, so burst fire, cool. Just weird that it's tied to frame rate. But I think that covers just about everything. The only thing that I do need to mention if you're going to download this mod, if you're using an animation replacer like the right-handed AK, the burst fire functionality can be a bit buggy because it's requiring a separate framework and a separate animation mod, and they don't exactly play super nice together. So just be aware of that. The burst fire might wig out on you, and that could look like firing in full auto, firing all the time, firing without pulling the trigger, having a runaway gun. It's a lot of stuff can happen that you don't want to happen, but it's really up to you. Do you want the animations? Do you want the burst fire? If you don't care about the burst fire, then maybe the animations are better, but if you really want those animations, maybe you stay away from the burst fire. You get the idea. Regardless, this weapon is absolutely beautiful and amazing, and a really cool lore-friendly early game weapon. So, if you want to try this one out, it'll be linked down in the description below, and it's available for not only PC, but Xbox as well. So, go out and try this one. It was a lot of fun to use, and I think it's a really cool weapon, and definitely one of Pig's best mods yet. So, with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to drop a rating and let me know down in the comments what you thought. Big shout out to all of my patrons for supporting every single video. And of course, a very special thank you to Captain Chaos, Helljumper, Indecisive Wolf, Jackie Noid, Chimmy76, Cushy, Moonlit Gamer, Feed, and Youth RC for joining that Tier 3 Patreon membership. If you want to support the channel on Patreon, it is linked down in the description below, but it's completely optional. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.